Shalom, this is Ronit Ziv Krieger, Education Director at the JWRP, presenting this webinar with my friend and colleague Adrian Gold. In honor of the upcoming holiday of Sukkot, this month's values are joy and welcoming guests, simcha and hachnasat orchim. This webinar includes ideas for introducing these values to your participants, suggestions for exploring their meaning in the context of the holiday of Sukkot, ways they can practice bringing them into their daily lives and making an impact on those around them. To begin planning, reflect on who you expect will be attending and what are your priorities for the session. The questions on page 3 could help you in the process of prioritizing. As you listen to the webinar, consider how to best allocate time to different elements of the session to meet the needs of your participants and to meet your priorities. Before the session begins, consider preparing the room by putting out natural decorative touches of the holiday. Pomegranates, locally grown, recently harvested produce will help create a warm and welcoming feeling, as well as set a tone in the space that supports the learning to take place. If they're available, have a lulav and etrog set on hand for participants to explore using their senses, our most powerful learning tools. One of the main themes of Sukkot is simcha, Hebrew for true joy. True joy comes from savoring all that we have, spiritual connectedness, which some may have experienced during the high holidays, our intimate and meaningful relationships, our blessings and our challenges. Joy is also strongly born from doing good and being of service. In this session, we'll explore one such mitzvah, welcoming guests, called in Hebrew hachnasat orchim, an archetypical form of giving through opening up our homes with generosity and love to family, friends, and those in need.
Hi, I'm Adrian Gold. To get the women inspired, I would suggest that you share a personal experience of your own, a favorite joy or a time of hospitality or a Sukkot memory. You may even find a thought that illustrates the relationship between sheltering, rejoicing, and Sukkot. But feel comfortable including experiences that are honest about the real challenges of introducing new traditions into your family and the humor that you have to have at those times. When I first learned of the concept of God providing shelter for his people in the desert, I immediately was inspired to want to turn my home into a permanent sukkah. And that's an ironic thing because a sukkah is by its very nature temporary. So much so that we don't affix a mezuzah to the door since we know its days are literally numbered. How could I integrate the lessons of God's kindness to the vulnerable myself in my own home and all year long? How could I offer shelter to the outside world from its inherent dangers and discomforts while not detracting from proper attention to my own family and my own children? There's so much need in the world. There's so much pain. The human body itself is sometimes compared to a sukkah, a temporary dwelling for the soul, which is eternal. This is one reason why we decorate the inside of a sukkah and not the outside, because the permanent and profound part of the human being is not its body, its exterior, but rather its interior, its soul. Decorating the inside of your sukkah means decorating the only truly meaningful part of ourselves by working on our character and by being focused on the eternal part of ourselves. And while we tend to spend more time on our bodies than we do on our characters, the truth is that it's ultimately futile. It's a bit like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic because that ship is going down. But the human body also is condemned to atrophy. But the soul, the character, well, that is limitless and everlasting. For 8 days a year, we literally replicate the experience of Sukkot as a reminder of living in reality, of recognizing that our true joy and ultimate assistance comes from above, that no fancy house or car, no stunning decor is going to insulate us from the reality of the human physical condition. And this reminder fast tracks us to joy because the physical awakens the spiritual. And when our bodies are doing reality, our minds and souls quickly catch up. And when they do, so then we're blissed out at our absolute best because we've removed the blinders of societal pressures and the norms, and we've returned to the essential of our identities. And that is so incredibly joyful.
Thank you. Page 4 features a bit of background about Sukkot, a biblical text, and several questions to introduce key Sukkot ideas. True joy is not based so much on external factors such as wealth, success, or even health, but more on one's attitude towards oneself, others, and towards what happens. Joy is actually a skill that can be practiced and learned. A Jewish idea of joy is described on page 5 by Musar master Rabbi Shlomo Wolbe. Musar is a Jewish path of character development based in understanding and structured practices designed to lead to awareness and spiritual growth. Simcha, teaches Rabbi Wolbe, offers a person wings to ascend to great spiritual heights. He describes 2 teachings about Simcha, which together offer 2 uplifting wings. The first is a teaching from Ethics of Our Fathers. Who is rich? Those who are happy with their lot. This doesn't mean being happy only with the good things and kvetching about what isn't to our liking. A person should offer God blessings on the bad as well as on the good, the rabbis in the Mishnah taught almost 2,000 years ago. We aren't great judges on what we receive. Contemporary research concurs. Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert, in a viral TED Talk and in a book called Stumbling on Happiness, makes the case based on ample research that we humans do very poorly in predicting what will make us happy. Being happy with our lot uplifts us by helping us live within our means without wasting precious energy spinning in the eddies of regret and cravings. This doesn't mean not prioritizing what's important to us, nor does it mean not to work hard to set and reach goals, but it does mean to be happy with how things unfold and turn out, given the efforts we put in. Such a mindset, teaches Rabbi Wolbe, can be practiced and cultivated and is uplifting. The second teaching he gives about Simcha is that the Torah is packed with guidance, packed with mitzvot designed to bring us true joy and pleasure. These mitzvot guide us in building holy relationships with family, community, and with God. While the value and joy of material things is temporary, the value of a mitzvah is eternal. Further, many routine daily activities can bring us new added joy when we dovetail them with an uplifting awareness. So much of what we do daily as parents is actually acts of kindness. This awareness may seem lofty, but it can help reframe what may seem mundane and imbue our daily activities with more meaning and pleasure. The Pele Yoetz teaches that any act done for the sake of heaven is a mitzvah. There's a Hebrew term, simcha shel mitzvah, that speaks of the joy gained from doing a mitzvah, from doing what we do with a transcendent awareness. One example we'll explore further in this session is the mitzvah of welcoming guests. Note the third question on the page, which points to the teaching that different people are gifted with a special proclivity to doing good. Each person has their special mitzvah, something that resonates for them. Consider giving your women time to reflect and share what this might be for them. Pages 6 and 7 connect the dots between joy and hospitality. Consider pairing the women and inviting them to partner read this section and to discuss what resonates with them. Then invite them to share with the group one idea that came up in their conversation. This type of partner learning allows all the participants to be actively engaged in the learning at the same time, which offers a good balance to parts of the session when they're listening to one person at a time speak. Invite women to consider some of their own experiences with hospitality, either being a guest or hosting others.
My home is a small and humble one. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and about 1,200 square feet, including the basement. From an early age, my sons understood that giving up their bedrooms to guests was a privilege, not a burden. Now, I made that happen by rewarding their generosity with lots of praise and special privileges. I created almost a Pavlovian response to the phrase, "There's guests coming to stay next week." In fact, before the guests arrived to stay in our home, which we've always said expands metaphorically the more people who enter it, we would make a trip to the dollar store and we'd put together these baskets that would provide any need a guest might have and might be too embarrassed to ask for. Obviously, the basics were there. There was water and juice, snacks, and the like. But also there was toothbrushes and toothpastes and deodorant and sanitary products and pens and paper and tape and pins and needles and thread, novels and hand cream and gum and breath mints. And for the kids, well, tons of candy and treats and little dollar store toys and games. And to ensure that this stuff would be used, a big handmade sign affixed to it saying, "Please take me home. This is a gift to you from us, with gratitude that you graced our home." The boys got to create their own little baskets that they carried into the basement or into our room where they would be bunking down during the duration of the guest's stay. And it was a win for them, too. They became so adept at giving up their rooms that they would constantly ask our dinner guests if they wanted to sleep over in my room tonight. And so our home became the place of hospitality, or hachnasat orchim. For the past 15 years, I have had many, many young people who are between jobs or relationships, struggling to find work, or simply couch surfing, making my home feel like a permanent sukkah.
Once women hear a few reflections on hospitality, draw them to the writing exercise at the bottom of page 7 to consider how gratitude, joy, and joyful hospitality have played a role in their lives, and to envision how they'd like things to be, and concrete steps they could take to achieve their vision. Pages 22 and 23 provide a space for them to journal. When the time we have together is so precious, why bother taking time for each woman to do her own writing privately? Good question. Our brain absorbs an idea quickly and feels no need to dwell on it. When the goal is intellectual learning, we can move quickly from one idea to the next. But the heart learns slower. It needs time to reflect, ruminate, and wonder how the learning is relevant to one's life today. Writing offers that reflection time. To set up the writing activity, acknowledge that some enjoy writing more than others. It's just 3 to 5 minutes in silence. To ease participants into the process, set a few guidelines. We don't share what we write with the group. This alleviates a lot of anxiety. No self-judgment. Whatever emerges is fine. Don't be self-critical. You don't need to be a writer for this exercise. There's no judgment about needing to be deep, eloquent, or creative. It's a personal check-in for you. No editing. Just let yourself be guided by your intuition, right in a stream of thought manner. Offering blank sheets of paper will be helpful for many, as writing in the booklet can be more intimidating. Make sure to also engage with the writing yourself, alongside your participants, as your modeling will help set the tone. If it doesn't come easy to you, let them know, share it. To fully bring the learning into the heart, we need to also share and talk about what moved us. Consider allowing the women some time to share with a partner one thought that came to them during the writing. It's not to read, but to share a takeaway idea. The goal is to create a quality conversation focused on how the participants imagine the learning could potentially affect their lives and their home. You may want to use the timer. Give each participant 2 to 3 minutes to share, and have the timer ring to mark when they should switch. Joy and hospitality are topics that all our participants have experience with. Plan to balance those with the topic of Sukkot, where some of your participants may have no experience and may know little. Pages 8 and 9 present some Sukkot traditions and resources. Invite women who'd like to each read aloud one of the traditions in a go-around, and then to consider a Sukkot tradition they might want to try out this year. Acknowledge that introducing new traditions can be both fun and intimidating at the same time. Ask the whole group to brainstorm ways to introduce a tradition to their family with joy. As the women offer suggestions, you may want to write up on a large piece of poster paper their ideas, elevated, and to tape it where the whole group can see. Eliciting ideas from the group can help them learn from each other and explore what these ideas could look like in their life. For example, the more crafty participants might offer ideas for decorating materials and craft supplies to have on hand. Those who have built a sukkah before may offer input on how to do it in a time and resource-sensitive way. And yet another person may be able to explain how to have fun visiting somebody else's sukkah or some of the local sukkot that are available in your area. On page 10, read together about the law of return in Israel. Ask women to share what they know about countries of origin of their ancestors. Notice the countries from where Israeli immigrants have come. Invite women to consider the meaning and connection between immigration to Israel and our theme of joyful hospitality. Ask the women to discuss how is Israel's law of return an expression of joyfully welcoming others. As this session draws to an end, invite the women to consider the Learn with Your Sister material that can be explored with a partner over the coming weeks. A wonderful teaching about happiness by Yafa Palti, a JWRP city leader. A teaching about hospitality by JWRP trip leader Chaya Lester. And recommendations about hospitality from Katrina Chemea, a JWRP past participant. In every session of the Year of Growth series, we've included a Try It Out section. On pages 20 and 21, you'll find the Try It Out section for the Sukkot session. It can help women bring the learning they've done today home to their families in interesting and fun ways. Encourage each to read through the options and select one to bring to her family. Now it's time to end the session. Summarize the main ideas explored and highlight some of the comments and questions. Ask each woman to share one takeaway from this session. You could invite them to finish the sentence, "After this time together, I now commit to," Remind the participant that this is the end of the in-class time together, but the learning will go on with your sister sessions. Encourage the women to schedule time to do the learning with a partner, even if it's only 15 minutes each week. Let the women know when and where the next session will take place, and ask who's interested in co-leading some of the session with you. The next year of growth session is on the topic of gratitude. Thank you to my friend Adrian for co-presenting this webinar with me, and to my friends and colleagues Eliza Sperling, Jen Fector, and Chaya Lester for helping with different aspects of this session. Special thank you to you, the fantastic and dedicated city leaders, for bringing the inspiration and teaching to your participants in ways that really help them transform self, family, community, and ultimately the world.